Hear it?
The trip was supposed to clear my head. I had been going through a rough stretch. Nothing dramatic, just the kind of tired that builds up when you have been running too hard for too long, and you have not given yourself a reason to stop. A friend told me the Ozarks in September were something I needed to see before I died, and he was not wrong about that. The light through that forest in early fall is something specific that I still think about. I had been out 3 days. Solo. I prefer it that way. I am 34, I have been hiking alone since I was 22, and I know the specific kind of peace that comes from moving through wilderness with nobody else's pace to match. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, I was moving through a section of dense forest about 6 miles from the nearest trailhead. No trail. I navigate by compass and terrain feature when I am in sections like that. I had been doing it for hours and I was comfortable and the light was good and everything was fine. I whistled, not to signal anyone, not for any reason, just the way you do when you are alone and comfortable and the forest is quiet and your brain does something automatic. A short 2-note descending whistle, the kind I have done 1,000 times on 1,000 trails. And something whistled back. Same 2 notes, same descending pattern, almost immediately. From a direction I would estimate as northwest of me, maybe 60 meters, maybe less. My immediate reaction was embarrassment. I assumed I had not noticed another hiker. I whistled again, this time deliberately, the standard "Hey, I'm here" signal that hikers use. The answer came back from the same direction, same pattern, same timing. I started walking toward it. I called out. Nobody answered the call. I whistled a 3rd time. The answer came from behind me. I want to be precise about this because it is the detail that has stayed with me for almost 4 years. The first 2 answers had come from the northwest. The 3rd answer came from the southeast. Behind me. From a direction I had just walked through. From a distance I would estimate as similar. 60 meters, maybe less. I had not heard movement. I had not heard footsteps. I had not heard anything between the 2nd whistle and the 3rd that would account for something covering 60 meters of dense Ozark forest in the time between them. I stopped walking. I stood completely still, and I listened. The forest was doing the thing forests do when they are not doing anything. The small ambient sounds of wind and insects and nothing wrong. Everything normal, except the whistle had come from behind me. I did not whistle again. I want to tell you that I assessed the situation rationally and determined a logical explanation. I did not. What I did was stand still for approximately 2 minutes and let my body make its assessment before my brain got involved. My body's assessment was that I should not whistle again and I should start moving toward the trailhead. So that is what I did. I moved. I did not run. I did not look back more than twice. On the way out, I thought of every rational explanation. A bird that mimics human sounds. The Ozarks have a few species capable of simple mimicry. An echo off a terrain feature that reversed the apparent direction. Another hiker I had not seen moving faster than I thought possible through dense forest. I still think about all of those explanations. I have not been able to make any of them account for the timing. A bird that mimics does not produce the exact 2-note descending pattern of an automatic human whistle on the first try without having heard it before. An echo in open mixed hardwood does not reverse 180 degrees. Another hiker covering 60 meters of dense off-trail forest in under 3 seconds does not do it silently. I got back to my car. I sat in it for a while before I started the engine. I have been back to the Ozarks twice since then. I do not whistle there anymore. Not because I am certain something answered me, because I am not certain enough that nothing did. 2 notes. Answered immediately. Answered again from the same direction. and then answered a third time from behind him, from a direction he had just walked through. No sound of movement between. Tell me where in the world you are watching from right now. Drop it in the comments and I will reply. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok. The links are in the channel bio. We post there too. We are pushing toward 100,000 subscribers before the end of this year. If these accounts mean something to you, hit that subscribe button. Every single one counts and this channel only grows because of you. Does the third whistle coming from behind him tell you something moved through 60 meters of dense forest silently, or does it tell you whatever answered the first whistle was already closer than he thought before he made a sound? Drop your answer below. My friend Obi and I had been doing summer trips together for about 5 years. He is the reason I started hiking seriously. Before him, I was a trails-only, stay-on-the-path kind of person. He pulled me off the path about 4 years in, and after the initial terror of not being on a marked route, I realized I was more comfortable in the backcountry than I had ever been on a trail. That is the kind of thing a good hiking partner does for you. This was our third time in the Shoshone. We knew the general terrain well enough to be confident in it. 4-day trip, second day out, moving through a heavily forested section in the late afternoon. Neither of us had said much for about an hour, which is normal for us. We move well together without needing to fill the silence. Obi was about 20 meters ahead of me when he stopped. I almost walked into him. He put his hand up, the stop signal we use, without turning around. I stopped. He stood like that for maybe 15 seconds. Then he turned around and looked at me with an expression I had not seen on him before. Not fear, exactly. Something more like the face a person makes when they have heard something that does not fit the category they expected it to fit in. He walked back to me, quietly. He said, "Did you just whistle?" I had not whistled. I told him I had not. He looked at the forest behind me for a moment. Then he said, "Something whistled from your direction," right before I stopped. I had been 20 meters behind him for the last hour. I had not whistled. There was nothing behind me that I had been aware of. We stood there for a moment, taking that in. Then I asked him to describe what he heard. He said it was a single note. Long. Like someone holding a note to signal their position. He said it had come from my direction. Maybe 30, 40 meters behind me. I turned around and looked at the forest behind us. It looked exactly like forest is supposed to look. Dense, green. The specific late afternoon light of Shoshone in July filtering through the canopy in a way that makes everything look further away than it is. I did not whistle. Obi did not whistle. We had an unspoken agreement in approximately 4 seconds that neither of us was going to whistle. We started walking again. Not at a different pace. We were both careful about that. We walked at exactly the pace we had been walking before. I do not know if that was the right instinct. It was the instinct we both had simultaneously. For the next 2 hours, I was aware of the forest behind me in a way I had not been before. Not because I heard anything. I did not hear anything. The forest was completely normal for the rest of the day. That is almost the more disturbing part. That night at camp, Obi and I talked about it properly for the first time. He said the thing that has stayed with me. He said, "What bothers me is not that something whistled. What bothers me is that it whistled from your direction, and I assumed it was you." And that is the part I have turned over many times since. Because if Obi had whistled back, thinking he was signaling me, whatever was behind me would have known exactly where we both were, the direction we were facing, the distance between us. We did not whistle back, and we did not hear anything for the rest of the trip. I still do not know what whistled from 30 meters behind me in the Shoshone on a July afternoon. I know it was not me. I know Obi's first assumption was that it was. And I know that if he had answered it, his answer would have gone to something that was not his hiking partner. What do you think was behind me in that forest for the 2 hours after we heard it? And does the fact that Obi's first instinct was to assume it was me tell you something about what it was doing? Drop it below. The third account tonight comes from a solo camper who heard something whistle from outside her tent at 2 in the morning. The pattern it used was a melody she has never told anyone outside her immediate family. That is the third account tonight. I am going to ask you to stay with me through the setup of this account, because the detail that makes it disturbing depends on context that I need to give you first. When I was growing up, my father had a specific whistle he used to call us in from outside. Not a standard 2-note or a loud alert whistle. A short melody. 5 notes, the kind of thing you make up for a family and repeat so many times it becomes shorthand. I can hear it in my head right now. I have heard it my whole life from one source. My father passed away 3 years ago. I have not heard that melody from anyone since his funeral. October 2023. A solo camping trip in a section of Olympic National Park backcountry. I'd been doing solo trips since his death as a way of being in the kind of places he loved. He was the one who taught me to camp. Every solo trip since he died has had something of him in it. I set up camp on the evening of the first day. Good site, sheltered, the kind of spot he would have approved of. I cooked, I read by headlamp, I went to sleep at a reasonable hour feeling the specific peace that comes from being in the right kind of outdoor silence. I woke at approximately 2:10 in the morning. I lay there for a moment in the dark, getting my bearings the way you do in a tent. Then I heard it. 5 notes. From outside the tent. Clear, unhurried, the exact melody. I want to be very careful about what I'm claiming here because I know what it sounds like. I'm not claiming the supernatural. I'm claiming that I heard 5 specific notes in a specific order that I have heard from one person in my entire life, and that person has been dead for 3 years. I lay completely still. It came again. Same 5 notes. Same unhurried pace. From what I would estimate as 10 to 15 meters from the tent, in the direction of the tree line. I did not move. Here is the thing about that melody that I have not told you yet. It is not a recognizable tune. It is not something you could arrive at by chance or by musical convention. It is 5 specific notes in a specific rhythm that my father invented. The probability of something producing those 5 notes in that order by accident is not something I can calculate, but I know it is very small. I lay in that tent for a long time. It came a 3rd time. Then it stopped. I did not whistle back. I want to be specific about why. It was not grief. It was not the wish to hear it again from the right source. Something in me understood with complete clarity that whatever was outside my tent producing that melody was not my father, and that answering it was the wrong thing to do. I lay still until first light. Then I packed my camp and left. I have not gone back to that section of Olympic. I have thought about this account every day since October 2023, and I have arrived at 2 possibilities. The first possibility is that I was not fully awake, and my grieving brain produced a sound that was not there. I take this possibility seriously. The second possibility is that something in that Olympic forest produced a 5-note melody that exists in only one place in the world, in the memory of my father's children, and used it outside my tent at 2 in the morning. I have no way to determine which of those 2 possibilities is true. What I know is that I did not answer it, and I am glad I did not. 5 specific notes, a melody her father invented. Nobody else knows it. 3 in the morning from 10 meters outside her tent. She did not answer. Subscribe to Obscure Nights right now. Does the melody being something only her family knows tell you what was outside that tent had been close to her before that night? Or does not answering it tell you her instincts knew something her grief did not? Drop your answer below. 3 accounts, 3 whistles answered, 3 narrators who stopped before they answered back. There is a practical basis for the instinct all 3 of them had, and it comes from wilderness survival protocol, not folklore. Whistling in remote backcountry serves one primary function: signaling your position to other people. That is its only function. It tells anyone within range of the sound exactly where you are, which direction you are moving, and whether you are alone. For a lost hiker trying to be found, that is the point. For anyone not trying to be found, it is information you do not want to broadcast. Experienced wilderness guides teach a specific protocol for responding to unexpected sounds in remote terrain. If you hear a sound you cannot identify, a whistle, a voice, a pattern that seems directed at you, do not respond immediately. Wait, listen for the sound to repeat. Note the direction. Note the timing. If it repeats from the same direction at a consistent interval, it is likely a person or an animal with irregular behavior. If it repeats from a different direction or at an inconsistent interval, do not respond vocally. Mark your GPS position. Move toward your planned exit route at a normal pace. The reason experienced guides give for not responding immediately is simple. Sound in dense forest is unreliable. Direction is distorted by canopy and terrain. Distance is compressed or expanded by temperature and humidity. If something is moving and producing sound, you cannot accurately track it by responding to it. You can only reveal yourself. All 3 narrators in tonight's accounts did the same thing without being taught this protocol. They stopped. They waited. They did not answer. Whatever was in those 3 forests, bird, animal, person, or something else, it did not get an answer. If you are in remote backcountry and you hear a whistle that seems directed at you, wait before you respond. 30 seconds of listening tells you more than any answer you could give. To the solo hiker in the Ozarks who sat in his car before starting the engine. To Obi and his hiking partner who kept the same pace for 2 hours without discussing it. And to the woman in Olympic who lay still until first light and did not answer the melody she has missed every day for 3 years. Thank you for trusting Obscure Nights with these accounts. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Links in the bio. This is Obscure Nights, where the cases nobody talks about get told the way they actually happened. Good night.